welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. Hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. All right. On our program today, we're going to continue our discussion on dating as Christians or courtship as Christians. Last week we were talking about what the things to look for. We're going to continue talking about that or discussing that. See, a lot of the churches, they don't have programs, or they are against programs, or they don't want to have programs, or they don't think they need programs. But we certainly need things to help our young people, because there's so many things that they're coming up against. And what do you do when your young person, 14, 15, come to you and say, I'm thinking about going out with this person. What do you think? First of all, be proud that they, or feel good that they even came to you. Because, if you tell them no, what they're going to do, they're going to just sneak around and do it anyway. And because they came to you and asked you that does not mean that they're not saved. That does not mean that they got the devil in them. That does not mean any of that. That's all part of life. That's all part of God's plan, that we be attracted to the opposite sex. So we have to think of it on that area. Think of it in that area. Because that question is going to come up, and you're going to know what. First of all, you have to set boundaries of what. If you, for instance, you say, "Oh, give it a year or 2 years, or whatever you want to give it," and during that time that they're waiting for that 2 year or that year that you set the boundaries at, that's the time you take to train them, or you should have started training them when they get a certain age. You should, start training them things to look for. With the opposite sex, and things to avoid, because a lot of young ladies, because they don't get love and affection at home, they're going to get it outside the home. One of those slicksters come along and tell them they look pretty. That's why you should tell your daughters that they're how beautiful they are, and so it set their self-esteem up, because a lot of our young ladies have low self-esteem, and some of the ones that are really nice looking young ladies, they'll have low self-esteem because no one took the time to tell them that they're beautiful, that they love them, give them hugs. And and that seems to be something that's lacking in a lot of the homes. We don't want to hug our kids and tell them that you're proud of them, tell them you love them, tell them how beautiful they are. I remember when my daughter was coming up, I always took her to nice restaurants when she was a little kid, and coming up even as a teenager. And even now, every once in a while, I'll take her out. We'll go out for coffee and stuff and just sit and talk. Those are the things you should be doing, so our daughters know what to look and how a young man should be treating them. Because a lot of them don't know how a young man should treat them. That's why they accept anything somebody come along, somebody tell them they're beautiful or pretty, and and they don't mean it. Those are the things that they look for, and those are the things that should be taught in the churches. I remember I mentioned last week when we were coming up, one church that I went to, the men, they would set the young men down, and they would teach them the things to do, how to be a gentleman, and how to open doors for ladies, and things like that, how to be a man. They would teach us how to be a man. And the mothers of the church would set the young ladies down and taught them how to carry themselves. A lot of the young ladies don't carry themselves well because they were never taught how to carry themselves well. And with the mothers being young as they are, the mothers don't know how to carry themselves well. So those things need to be taught in the church. And it is not that you teach them on a harsh method. And you don't teach them by telling them what to do. You teach them. And I've always said it, even in my message, teaching someone and telling someone what to do is two different things. If you teach someone what to do, they're more likely to go by or follow what your teachings are rather than you telling them what to do. If you tell them what to do, they're going to back off. And that's the same thing in with a minister in their messages. If you teach your congregation, you'll have a better outcome, a better reaction. Because if you think about it, all those churches that are just real strict and y'all devils and y'all got that lustful eye and all that stuff that goes on. There's more pregnancies in those churches than anywhere. All kind of stuff goes on in those churches. And that's because if you sit there and tell people what to do, guess what? They're going to go behind your back and do it anyway. So that's why we have to make sure that when our young people, is a very sensitive area, very sensitive subject. That's why you have to set boundaries and make sure that you stick to them. If they're interested in seeing a young man when they get of age, hear me again, when they get of age, become of age, make sure that you meet the young man first. You tell them, bring him home so we can meet him. Meet his parents. That's how you do that. You meet his parents, you see an area, and make sure everyone is on the same page. See how he interacts with his mom. See how he interacts with his dad. And that would tell you a lot about the person. Find out if they go to church. If they go to your church, then you should already know them. If they don't go to your church, find out what kind of church they go to. What are their beliefs? Because you want to be on one accord. So make sure that we are trained. Again, I always stress this, make sure that we are training our young people and especially our young women. Because there's so many young women out here with low self-esteem. That's why you get these guys that come along and take advantage of them. And, especially nowadays, you have so many young ladies and just young people, period, that are going through the system. Coming out of the foster care system that don't have any, and when they turn 18, they're pretty much out on their own, and we need to receive them and show them love because they don't have that. A lot of times they don't have that. They're not coming from a background of parental love in a home. They're coming from broken homes and things of that nature. So that's why we have to make sure that we teach our young people and our young ladies. So the cycle of getting pregnant before you're wed and all those cycles are broken. We need to break those chains. A lot of times it seems like it's hereditary. You had kids before you were married. You never got married. We want to make sure, because marriage is a very sacred thing, and God is pleased with marriage. So we have to make sure we are preparing our young people for marriage. And that's the thing that's happening now. Our young people are not prepared for marriage. They don't know how to do anything. They don't, and parents are not perfect. I'm not saying parents are going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we have been there. I've been there. I've done that. So we want to make sure that we teach our young people, not tell them what to do. Because if you tell them what to do, they're going to go and do the opposite of what you just told them what to do. So we have to make sure that we are teaching our young people. And the whole courtship thing, and being as a Christian, if you do it the right way, it's a beautiful thing. You should be, once they become of age, for going out with someone or dating or courtship, because if they're dating with the person that's their soulmate, it's going to evolve into courtship, and when it evolves into courtship, then that's when they get engaged, and then the next thing it'll be marriage. But they'll be already prepared for it. They'll already know the person. That's why a lot of young people run off, get married to the wrong person or someone they don't barely know, because they are craving that love, that the emotions of being held and things like that. So we have to make sure that we are teaching our young people because there's so much that is out there. There's so many people out there that are preying on our young people. We want our young ladies to be wise. We want them to be thinkers, not just people that are following rules. We want them to be thinkers. And when they're thinkers, when they're good thinkers, they become good leaders. And that's what we want to instill in our young people. When they come to you and say that, I'm thinking about dating that person, like I said, make sure you meet their parents, bring them over, have dinner with them, sit down with them, and you set them both down and go over what the rules are. Set your boundaries between the both of them. And if you and mom and dad have to go out with you, you go out with them. You just sit across the room at a different table, but go out with them. Show them that you are supporting them. And if they don't want to go out with you, find a young couple that's already married in the church, that's already married, and let them go out with them, especially if you know each other. And if you have a church where it's more like family, then they won't feel uncomfortable. So we have to make sure that we are teaching and preparing our young people for marriage. And this is what this show is about. Let's talk marriage. We want to make sure that our young people are prepared for marriage, because there's nothing like young ladies not because they get emotional. So when they feel like they're not being loved, they're not being noticed, make sure that we are noticing our young people. Make sure we are encouraging our young people. We always want to tell them what to do and what not to do. That's the big thing. Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. Let them be young people. Let them get that out of their system. What the Apostle Paul said, well, I was once young and now I'm old. When you're young, you do certain things. You thought as a child when you were a child. So we have to make sure we let our children be children. And as they grow up and as they mature and they start looking at the opposite sex, there's nothing wrong with that. They ain't got no devil in them, so don't be telling that's a spirit. No, it's not a spirit. That's how God designed it. How do you think, where do you think marriage came from? That's where marriage came from. You go into, first you go into dating, then there's the courtship, where when you go into courtship, that's when it's, that's your soulmate, and you become engaged, and the next step, you are married, and when you do it the proper way, marriages last longer, and our young people are more apt to stay in church, because if you start throwing out all these rules and stuff, and young people do that on jobs now. Why do you think you go to Burger King and McDonald's and you hardly see nobody working there? They get tired of all these rules and people throwing things at them, because they don't make young people like we do. We were able to take all that stuff because we ain't had no choice. We ain't had no social media, or no TikTok, and we ain't have all that to express ourselves. You can go on TikTok and jump around and express yourself. We ain't have all that. So we had to take all that stuff that they were throwing at us, all the rules they were throwing at us, and going to jobs and people talking to you any kind of way, going to church and they talk to you any kind of way, mothers snatching you and setting you down. You look like a devil, look like a Jezebel. You can't do that to young people nowadays, because everyone is much more sensitive to things that are going on around us. So we have to make sure that we are teaching our young people the right way. And when you set those boundaries in the home, make sure you stick to them. Make sure that you let your young people enjoy themselves, so they can look back and say, oh, I did that. And because guess what, if you don't, soon as they become an adult, they're going to start doing things that they didn't do when they were because you were so strict. Soon as they get out of your household, they're going to go backwards. And it should not be there, because I remember when I grew up as a young person, a teenager and all that, and I got through all those years and as adolescent and teenage years, and I got through all that. And I stayed in church, because I was able to do those things that were fun. I did a lot of things that were fun, and it had a lot of clean fun as a young person. I was part of a group, a gospel singing group as a teenager, part of a choir. We did so many things together. That's why when I became of age, I never looked back. And I noticed all the people or the young people that I knew that went to these churches that told them all the time, don't do this, don't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't. Those people, what they did is as soon as they became 18 and an adult, guess what? They stopped going to church. And it should not have to be that way. And a lot of times it's that way because we didn't teach our children, we told our children. And it's time that we start teaching our young people and networking with other churches that have, if you don't want to have programs in your church, network with a church that has it, and you find that your young people will be there through thick and thin. This is Pastor Larry. We're going to be signing off until we meet again with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. Until we meet again. This is Pastor Larry. I want to take this opportunity to invite you out to our services at New Zion Christian Center, where I'm the senior pastor. We're located at 15014 Des Street in Plainfield, Illinois. And our services begin Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Again, that's 15014 South Des Street in Plainfield, Illinois. All right, until we meet again, this is Pastor Larry, and we're going to be signing off with Let's Talk Marriage.